we have COYG. At least that makes some sense. What is HWTL? Is it like a coding language that I don't know?
I wish it was a code that corrected the PL and made us spend as much money as we can. But unfortunately, it is the war cry that we have for ourselves and the one that we want to kind of shout out and rally our troops against the PL. It's away the lads.
He's talking about sports and football people. I think it's really important to specify that in the current climate. Ajay does not stand for wars of any kind. He's one of the kindest people that I know, if I may add. Oh, never heard
Right.
stop join those disclaimers. Well, fun Champions League fixtures.
Mhm.
And we also have the polar bear in Arlington, Texas. Ajay, Newcastle. I don't know what
Dude, Newcastle are going to be in the Champions League next season.
next season. Okay. This
Yeah,
is a trial run.
we are just here to make sure that we do early scouting for next season.
Yeah. This is how the big boys operate. But probably you might want to talk to a Madrid fan as well, because you would probably think the competition ended at round of 16 or round of 8, considering it's Barcelona and Arsenal fan talking.
My cousin is a Madrid fan, and he's been one for the longest of time. And every time I talk about Newcastle, he's like, "Yeah, like get to the league, get to the big leagues, and then we can start talking." And then last time we got in, and then he was like, "Oh yeah, I'm like." Quarterfinals or semifinals is where we typically operate. Like, get to the semifinals and then we can talk. I'm like, dude, seriously, you're probably the only club in the entire world that can talk like this. And
God's favorite club.
Yeah, God's favorite club, and I think it's just magic, that club. As much
Devil's
as
favorite club is more appropriate.
No bias there, right, Chris?
Absolutely. Just a neutral Spanish football fan spitting facts. Anyway, pulling the discussion back to the match days, very eventful. Like, we had an assortment of results. We had thrillers, we had very one-sided games. Surprisingly, Arsenal was on the right end of that spectrum for a change. It's just like, look at a UCL scoreline that's like 5+ goals involving Arsenal. You just assume they are the victims, but that wasn't the case this week.
oh,
It's happened very rarely in the
Bayern.
UCL at least.
Bayern another time. As I cough a third time, so you can get out the other Bayern.
Yeah, it's so long ago that it doesn't count. Because we sucked and we were not in the Champions League.
Yeah, I mean,
We don't
like,
talk about German clubs here anymore. But I think
seriously.
this round of 16 had some banger competitions. You have the Madrid derby in the round of 16. You have Liverpool, PSG, and you have like Bayern Munich against Bayern Leverkusen. The rest of the games were kind of okay. Like, they were fine. Like, they were more typical round of 16 games, I think. These were the three outliers. You usually don't see these until like the quarterfinals or like the semifinals. So this new format has given us some surprises.
And what it does also is typically there are teams like for example, Bayern and PSG and Real that almost kind of get the season wrapped up by March, April, so they can have singular focus on Champions League last few rounds, right? By
Right.
actually kind of bringing forward some of these tough fixtures. What it does is almost puts a jeopardy or introduces jeopardy in terms of their planning, season planning. So I think that's where I like the format for the way it is, and I'm also resenting that had we had this opportunity, we could have gone as far as an Aston Villa is doing this time, right? So
it's okay. Next year will be your year. I'm just like, I have this calendar reminder for 1 year from now, 2 years from now. I want to see the exact date where Ajay stops pretending that he is an underdog or his club is an underdog. Not for long,
always,
Ajay.
yeah, always am, always will be. I think the how was the last time is probably a new or a what do you call it, another expansion that you can have for HWTL when we beat Barcelona in Barcelona like what we did in 97, 98. Right.
That was before my time. It doesn't count.
And then I can say, how was the last time? Good stuff.
Again,
Did I lose the joke on you? Seems like it.
I'm just, when it comes to UCL, we are the joke. I'm not used different variety of jokes. Again, like anybody just starting to watch now, we have Ajay from Newcastle. So that if anybody else got the joke, please let us know in the comments. Let's move on to the games. Rohit, Arsenal without Saka, with Odegaard, which apparently all of a sudden is a baggage for the team based on Rohit's 1 minute reviews.
Yeah. I never said he was a baggage for the team. So I always knew that we were going to get through this tie. Like Arsenal are too good. The defense is too good. PSV are not that good. But I never imagined that we would thrash them 7-1. That was like a really outlier result. Because I think like the Champions League kind of suits Arsenal in this current form because we have a solid defense. Our attack is not great. Even with everyone fit, we have we don't have the best attack in the world, not even the top 5 attack in the world. So without our 4 starting attackers gone, I said, okay, if we get a 0-0 or we go with like a dodgy 1-0 smash and grab, we'll be fine. We'll take care of them in the return leg at home. But yeah, it was a great performance. Odegaard came out of the shell. When I said, I've never said that Odegaard is a baggage. What I've always said is that the best version of Arsenal probably does not have Odegaard in the team. And I still maintain that. I feel like there are still some levels we can go with someone other than Odegaard, especially if we get someone like Zubimendi. Odegaard's profile is going to be a little bit redundant. So if you have Saka and Nwaneri in the side, it's going to make for some interesting viewing. So what this result gives us is that the opportunity to actually face one of the, it's not all done, but obviously, there's a very, very remote chance that PSV ever are able to overturn this deficit. So we have 6 different goal scorers. We had Merino score once. We had, Calafiori get a goal and an assist. So it was overall a very good performance. They had a couple of opportunities. If they had gotten that, it would have been a very different result, I feel. One key moment was Miles Lewis-Kelly avoiding a red card, which, if on the basis of the second challenge alone, he should have got one. We got a little lucky there. But I also think that the first yellow was a little bit soft. It's one of those things, right? You've seen them given both ways. If something had happened, PSV might have been in a great position. I think overall, I'm happy that we are getting the opportunity to go to the quarterfinals, play one of the Madrid sides. With the injuries that we had, quarterfinals was kind of the par that I had said, okay, if we get to the quarterfinals, after Saka got injured, I said, if we get to the quarterfinals of the Champions League, finish top 3, top 4 in the league, I think it's a decent season. We'll go next year again. But emphatically, we are meeting the quarterfinals. And the good thing is that we'll definitely have Martinelli back for the quarterfinals. We might have Saka back, if not for the first game, at least for the second game. He might not be at his best. So, but this is the magic of the Champions League, right? You want to be playing these big games. You want to be playing the Real Madrids and Bayern Munichs and Barcelonas of the world. So, I don't know if Real will make it. They probably will, but you never know.
I love this guy's optimism.
No, you never
I don't know if
that.
Real will make it. Of course, they only have a 2-1 advantage.
It is 2-1, right? Atleti have shown that they can beat Real Madrid. They've played them so often. So
that wasn't it. Like you wanting Bayern Munich. That was the part that was more screaming of optimism.
There's no way they're on the other side of the bracket, but we've played them so often in the Champions League that, this current version of Bayern Munich is actually, we'll talk about them in a bit, but I feel like I'd rather face them than face Real Madrid. So, yeah. But anyway, the big games are always the ones that you want to be in.
I think the game and the result is proper flattery to. Um, I want to say how far Arsenal has progressed this season, right? Because you played against a team that gave you a lot of space.
Oh yeah.
Okay, right. Which is almost seemed like they didn't know how to press. They didn't know how to cut passing lanes. They were so kind of reactionary in how they kind of moved players across the board, right? And
Yeah.
it was almost like they. Uh, oh, is that okay? I don't need to adjust the camera. I just have to move forward a little. But yeah, I was just going to say that it almost, I want to say, flattered to deceive to an extent where
Yeah.
it doesn't really tell you how you're going to resolve your attacking problems, right? Or your lack of goals problem in the Premier League, because no Premier League team is going to give you as much space.
Yeah. It's I think PSV were playing at home. They don't play like, resolute defenses that often. Like it's a very different ball game in the Premier League. Like once Arsenal were able to bypass that first line of pressure, it was like free. It was a free for all until they got to very close to the PSV box. Time and time again, we could break the press very easily because it was just not as intense as anything you would see in the Premier League. So yeah,
Yeah,
it was actually quite easy. And I agree with you. Like we have issues, of course. Our top four attackers are still out. It's not going to magically change. So yeah, that's why I'm interested to see how we play against a better team. Uh, yeah,
yeah, and the fact that if you look at Odegaard, right, I kind of hear you in terms of Hawaii. This Arsenal team might have moved past him, right, in terms of their stage of evolution, what stage of evolution they are at. But I still think he's key because one of the one of the biggest avenues that you have to scoring goals is by creating pressing actions or creating unforced errors by
yep,
pressing actions in the final third, right?
yeah,
Which is a big chunk of your goals, open
yeah,
play goals, right? And that, in terms of press trigger, in terms of leadership, in terms of what do you call it, guiding, in terms of when to fall back, when to switch, that is switch as in left to right to left, half
mhm,
space to white space, all of that switches that you have, right, in pressing, all of that is controlled, is verbalized, is articulated by Odegaard. So
yep,
to that extent, he's the most pivotal player for you in attack, not just in terms of creating chances, but actually creating scenarios through which you then create chances. So that's why he's key.
yeah. He's our on-field coach. Someone like that is always needed. That's why we got Jorginho, and that's why there are rumors of us being in the race for Kimmich.
Yeah, Kimmich.
Getting Kimmich, I don't care if he costs like 350K a week or whatever. He would be incredible because we'll not pay a transfer fee for him. I'm more than happy to have him because we'll be losing both Jorginho and Partey in the summer anyway. If we're getting Zubimendi, we should also get Kimmich. But one last thing that I want to highlight is Ethan Vaneri. My God, this kid is so good. He is one of the 5 players to score in a Champions League knockout game before the age of 18. And out of them, it's you'll recognize some names. One is Boyan, who flamed out.
Boyan Kirkic.
Yeah, he flamed out, but the rest of them, you might recognize Jamal Musiala, Jude Bellingham, Kylian Mbappe. There's one more guy I don't remember, but it's like
Is it Messi?
That's
no,
what
it's
I
not.
was thinking
It's
as
it's
well.
not. It's not. It's not
Because
Messi. I would have remembered Messi if he was on that list.
I
But
remember his performance in Celtic.
right, that might have been a group game.
Okay.
Knockout, maybe not. But that's like some incredible company to be keeping, right? And like the Arsenal Twitter account put out a bunch of media about his goal, which was assisted by Miles Lewis Kelly. It's the first time ever that 2 English teenagers have combined for a goal in Champions League history or European Cup history, which is
Hmm.
actually pretty cool. Like they've been best friends since they were like 8 years old. They've come up through the ranks together. So it's always good when you see like academy kids make it through. Like not everyone has a La Masia, right? So whenever that happens in like other teams, it's always good to see the talent development, the investment paying off. So yeah, it was overall that aspect of it was very gratifying. Ethan Nwaneri, I think the one thing that he still is working on is his physical development. That's why you can't trust him to play 90 minutes every 3 days. So that's why Arteta's and Arsenal are cautious with him, even in the league and stuff. But
We
yeah,
call
I'm
that
looking
a
forward to
case
see
at
what he can.
Barcelona.
Sorry?
17-year-olds, 18-year-olds pulling in 2 90-minute shifts, even 3 a week.
Yeah, I mean, that's also I think
That's a run
the
of the
other
mill.
aspect of it is that La Liga is not as physical. So
And Barcelona, on average, runs anywhere between 10 to 11 kilometers. Premier League teams, if I'm not wrong, churn out more than 13 to 14 kilometers.
Yeah,
Right. So
it's just more intense. The Premier League is more intense.
fair enough. That's it. Don't let the guy get in even one Barca plug.
And
You're going to talk about the Great Escape, so you have some time.
Yeah. Before we move on, I think one more thing on Ranieri. I think we did mention, or we did speak about him last time, Rohit. I think he is probably, for me, the best academy. I mentioned this to someone in another podcast that this is in July of this year or last year, right? In the preseason games, I have not seen another kid be that good at that age, right? In terms of having composure, decision making, being able to kind of switch on, switch off, switch on, switch off, right? In terms of what he does with the ball, at least come out of the Premier League in a long time. So in that sense, my closest reference point is Fabregas,
Right.
Right? Who at that age was that good. Again, Marcia to Arsenal. Shout out to both academies here, but I think he's probably the closest that I can think of a kid coming through the ranks that can handle pressure.
Right? Yeah, he's unfazed. He's unfazed. He belongs. You watch him, his demeanor on the pitch is this is 26 or something. You feel like he's older than he is. He is younger. One thing, I think one last thing I realized, which was, I think on another stream, somebody was calling out Calafiori and he's raw. And I was like, he's actually the third youngest player in Arsenal. He's 2 years younger to Saka, and Saka seems so young. Calafiori seems like a seasoned professional because he's had starts for Italy. He's been around for a while, but he's only 21.
Damn.
That's
I
crazy.
didn't know that.
And also on Ranieri, right? Because we have seen it with the likes of Dele Alli or Pogba, or all of these guys, right? Who had amazing starts to their careers, right? In terms of being the shining light of their club and the next big thing. Somewhere down the line, I just think there's a cultural issue in talent focusing on the right things, right? In the UK. And that's where I think him being in a club like Arsenal could work for him, as opposed to him being in a Manchester club or, again, Tottenham, where they do that step up and then the focus goes away, right? So I think Arsenal is probably the best club for him at this stage, and I think he'll be there. So I think it's an interesting journey to track.
Yeah, who better than Mikel Arteta to tell Ethan Nwaneri and Miles Lewis-Kelly to stay humble?
Maybe Haaland can, but yeah, sure.
He's just passing along the message,
Good stuff.
Right. That brings us to the next game. Another blockbuster, Madrid derby. I don't know if you watched the game.
I did, yeah.
But
I did.
As a neutral, let me tell you something. You watching a Madrid game is just not the same as me hate watching a Madrid game.
It's especially funny because more often than not, you're left disappointed.
And when we talk about Atleti playing Madrid so many times, right? They don't have a great record against Real, right? I'm talking of not. They had a big dark period, Atleti, in their history, which I think they'd be careful to avoid when they speak to you. But even otherwise, in the Simeone years, right, in the last 12, 13 years that he's been in charge of, they've had the occasional success, but Real has had their number for quite a long
brother energy.
Yeah, and to that extent, yesterday was almost telling of it that Atleti were humble, hardworking, um, going about their thing as they always do, make it very difficult to beat them, right? But Real, I wouldn't say Real worked hard for it, but they almost always do the right things at the right time to score a goal. And in clutch moments, there's not
They
an
just have too much quality, especially up front. People who are ruthless, clinical, they won't do like 47 step overs in the left wing, trying to be the center of attention. Of course, I'm speaking generally. It's just like take the ball from one end of the pitch, even if it's 3 touches, it's fine. They don't care if Vinicius scores or Mbappe scores or Brahim Diaz scores. The team is just drilled to do the right thing, like Ajay says. It's just like how great passing is in Barca's DNA. Like every person who plays, they get that inculcated. Like within few weeks of playing, even somebody like Inigo Martinez, who had never played in a system like it, he's just at home, right? Because that's what the club does to you. Robert Lewandowski, who was this warrior, he starts diving and he starts crying because that's what Barcelona does to a player.
No, I'll tell you this, Chris. I think there's a very fine difference between technical superiority and game awareness. Right? The notional intelligence versus being smart, street smart, right? Barcelona, the kids that come through it, right, are thought to be intelligent, are thought to do things the technical way. Real Madrid are, kids that are coming up. They're thought to do things that will make them win, right? That fine difference is so telling in moments like this when you see Ibrahim Diaz, right? Conventional wisdom would tell you if he's surrounded by three people and there's another overlap of two defenders that are getting them, what do you call it? It almost kind of creating a masked curtain between him and the goal. That he actually takes that player on, takes that play on, and then scores. Takes a shot. It's not. I'm not trying to hype that moment up, all right? But they do it time in and time again. If he had found a pass, would have been the right pass or the right move to make in that moment. All right? It's just so intrinsic in how they operate. It's just a special club.
Yeah. I will say that Brahim Diaz almost sacrificed his ankle in that goal, but kudos to him for getting up and getting that shot off.
Crazy. I think it's just I want to say it's. I've not seen another club in any other sport that I can remember of. I think we talk about CSK in moments like this and Dhoni in moments like this, right? But nobody does it as often, at least in the post 2000s era. Like we can talk about the Globetrotters and and the, what do you call it? The
Bulls and
Chicago Bull period, right? Where they could go on the fourth quarter 20, trailing by 20 and then switch on a gear, right? But no other team in the 21st century does it as often, as marvelously, as effortlessly as Real. As much as it might be, painful for you to sit through this, Chris. But I think it's the truth, right? They're so good at this. So
no arguments.
It's all inevitable talent.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like that's half the battle won whenever they go into any game in the Champions League. Like
Game
all
management.
teams give them that gives them an edge, right? You're going into a game. You are Real Madrid. This is my tournament. You guys are always, any opponent is already on the back foot. Then you make a mistake, and then Real Madrid capitalizes. It's over.
Yeah. I do want to bring in a certain tactical aspect to how an opposition deals with Real Madrid that I find grossly incompetent, or it's infuriating watching it as a Barca fan. There are only two clubs that I feel are positioned to take on Madrid. Unsurprisingly, it's Barca and Atletico. How Barca does it is just all-out attack. It doesn't matter if the scoreline is 2-0, 3-0. Sure, Barca has lost a lot of games to Madrid, but if you notice the games that we win, there is a reason why we win 5-0 or 4-0 as opposed to 2-1. considering the quality which is almost same between the two clubs, the number of times we have dropped the club, it's a surprise. But we are able to do it because that is the best way to play against Real Madrid. Instead, what I see literally every team do, be it La Liga or UCL, is they have a lead 1-0, maybe it's 2-1, maybe it's 2-0. They immediately go back to their shell. They don't attack. They just let this team, come on and on. And with Madrid, the quality they have in Mbappe or Vinicius, you just can't do that. You cannot absorb their pressure for 90 minutes or even the second half. That's why they keep coming back in second half, right? The one team that does that so well is Atletico Madrid, because they are I don't want to say antichrist, but they are the antichrist of defending in football, right? They do.
My dad used to call Atletico Madrid the dam.
The dam. Right? That's a nice way. That's a nicer way to put it.
Right? Real Madrid, the what do you call it? The overflowing river.
Yeah, that's a very good analogy. Right. He nails it. Only Atletico is equipped to absorb Madrid's pressure because that's in their DNA. Like how we have spoken about Madrid's DNA being the winning mentality, Barca's being passing excellence. Atleti can absorb pressure. I hate it when other teams try to do it. The problem with Atleti is occasionally the dam does break when it gets over flooded. And that is what happened the other day. They were really good in the second half, at least the first 10-15 minutes. But from there on, Madrid deserved the result. 2-1 was a very fair result. Now,
I think regardless of how good Real Madrid's attack is, their defense is still vulnerable. I mean, they don't have
you need to be at it. You cannot take your foot off the pedal. You have to be attacking against Real Madrid.
Yeah, I think, which is why I think Liverpool had a very successful game against them. You have elite attackers up front, right? You will be able to hurt them, and it's the same case with Liverpool as well. Like they do have off days in defense. Sometimes they're not performing at their very best. So you can get at them. So I think teams need to take a little bit more impetus to teams like Real Madrid and Liverpool, and not be in their shell and find out that, hey, maybe there's something for us here.
To be honest, Rohit, I think it doesn't work that way, right? When you've had if I was Atleti or as any other club that has come against Real Madrid, I wouldn't be surprised if Arteta does the same, right? Then you go against Real Madrid and you've never won in that stadium. Right,
we have.
I'm just saying. if you typically
only English team to have done that.
Only
that's
English
not a trophy,
but just once, right?
We only played them once, I think, at the Bernabeu.
Okay, so not a lot of teams have a great track record. So it almost plays in your psyche that you want to do well. You want to kind of get away with or secure a position if you're in the front, right? So you almost kind of play a game of consolidation than a game to kind of win. So you try and secure or consolidate your position because you have a very bitter experience or bitter taste from your previous experiences playing them. So it's only a natural response to it. And that emotional activation will happen when you're playing, right? Even if the coach is asking you to, that the famous cry of push up, push up, push up. Right? Even if the coach is shouting at the top of his guts, the players will know, it's Real Madrid.
Right.
Let's not give too much space. So you almost kind of fall back a yard to almost in the 88th minute playing just outside your D.
Yeah, I for one am actually looking forward to assuming Real Madrid do make it to the quarterfinals and Arsenal, it might be a really good matchup just to see what one of the best defenses in Europe has against Real Madrid. And objectively, Arsenal do have one of the best defenses in Europe and have a bunch of everyone is fit right now. So I want to see what happens.
Yeah, I still don't think Arsenal have enough quality across the pitch to
they don't
overcome.
They don't.
I will be sure to clip this and then post across. Let's post this across all our socials. When Arsenal win, stand victorious,
I'll be like, hey, I jinxed it successfully.
Yeah, I think it's, like the X factor in attack, the only one Arsenal have is Saka. And if he's back for the game, you never know.
Interesting.
Cool. Let's move on to the game that we are all here to talk about.
Is it Aston Villa and Club Brugge? Is that the one that you're talking about?
I walked right into that one, much like Park Ubasi did with this red card. Who watched the game here? So I know what my narrative should be.
So I want to say it's just one of those games that nobody pays attention because Barcelona is just the club that was. So
Yeah, I watched the highlights. I was a little interested to see how Benfica, after that crazy 5-4 loss in the group stage, I thought that they would get something more out of this. But they were just, Szczęsny had like an incredible game, but at the same time, Benfica didn't do well up front. They had so many chances to go up, and even against 10-man, they couldn't.
You are right. So certainly Benfica had their chances and they didn't have the individual quality to convert them. Unlike the first leg, unlike the group stages, which was just a freak result for all intent and purposes. But I think here Barca did a really good job. I know Szczęsny is getting all the limelight, but Araujo,
Araujo was really good.
Balde, like the entire defense put in a fantastic shift. If I'm not mistaken, like don't quote me on this, this is like the fourth game where we have received a red card this season. The first one being the game against Monaco, which we lost. Then we got a red card against Real Madrid, which we ended up winning, by the way. And there was another game in the La Liga where we got carded, which we walked away with 3 points. And this is the third time that we are doing it. That's impressive, considering how fragile Barca defense is when there is 11 men on the pitch. I have no idea what's going on. Like there is this, switch that gets turned on. Like, hey, we are 10 men now. We need to be more compact. We need to drop back. Somehow we seem to be so much better off defensively when we are a man down. It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I think it just kicks in a gear, right? Where you then start becoming very, compact, and you want to fight for one another.
Survival instinct.
Yeah. So I think that just kicks in naturally.
Yeah.
Shout out to Pedri. I think 6 months back, I posted one of my 1-minute reviews saying if Pedri can remain injury free, he can be the Iniesta for this generation. That feels like too much pressure on a 20 or 19-year-old.
No, it's not. He can handle it, dude.
Thank you.
No, but I think I really think, as somebody who's adored Iniesta, I think all of us have, right? It's an unfair comparison. Iniesta could do things that not even Messi or Ronaldo could, right? He's just special. So I think it'd be unfair to kind of compare anybody to Iniesta, the likes of Iniesta or Zidane.
Let's just say he has just the right amount of quality that made the old Barca midfield tick. He has the ball control of Iniesta, but somehow he has the vision of Xavi, and he also has the composure that Busquets brought into the team. It's just unbelievable. Like I wish I had the articulation and the poetic sense in me that Rohit has when he talks about Envaneri, right? He's just so special. All I want to say is just don't try to describe him. Just watch him play and sit back and enjoy.
Yeah, they call it pausa, right? He is like a master of the pausa. Like I don't think there's anyone in world football right now who's that level at this point who's currently playing. There are very few, maybe. Let's put it that way. And it's just crazy how young he is too.
Yeah.
He has like a long career ahead of him. Hopefully he stays injury free because it's always a delight to watch good players like this.
Correct.
Rafinha, shout out to him, man. Like, what a season. He's having 25 goals or something. It's crazy.
Yeah.
This guy was, in the trenches with Bielsa's Leeds. He was always, like everyone wanted him. At that time also you could recognize he was a special player. So yeah, he made, like when Barca came calling, he went I know Arsenal tried to sign him. He would have been amazing in our team. But Edu had described in an interview that Deco, his agent, said they tried, but he said he's only going for Barca. So fair play to him. What a season he's having.
And then it's almost like Flick has installed or instilled the Germanness into him, right? Where there's not a lot of what do you call it? He doesn't play for the Instagram reels. He plays for moments where he secures his team's what do you call it? A goal or an assist.
Yeah.
No flashy stuff.
Finally, he plays like he's in the Madrid team, right? He just seems to do the right thing at the right moment. Even yesterday's goal, I cannot think of any other Barca player, barring Lewandowski, who would even attempt a shot from that range the moment he did. It would be, like a couple of passes down the left wing. It's like, hey, let's get the perfect cute. Hey, let's do this heart diagram for the post-match reels. No, so when we do the passing, it will be so fun. Then Pedri, you can go stand in the corner and we'll give you a tap in. That is the Barca way of doing things. This guy is just so ruthless and efficient in front of goal. I will maintain this. He has gotten he has this purple patch right now, has his shooting boots on. Everything that he seems to touch, like it goes in the back of the net. I'd be surprised if he can sustain it. I'm surprised that he has, as long as he has, and I don't think he can hit the same levels next season. Hopefully he proves me wrong. But the qualities that he brings to the team is what really makes him special. I love that he's our captain, right? For somebody to become a Barca captain when he's just been around for a couple of seasons, that shows how much the club values what he brings to the table. You knew, like, he was always special, right? Like, the guy just knelt in the Leeds pitch and just crossed it because he made a promise. That's the kind of guys that you want to play, you want for your team. He's just an Antoine Griezmann who has had the privilege of playing under the right coach, and we are reaping the benefits of it. Just grateful to have him here.
Yeah, to that extent, I think Flick being there for another season is critical to what he becomes. Because another manager could just kind of pin him back to, what do you call it? The Barcelona style of passing and then passing again and then overpassing and then overpassing again, and almost kind of curtail his natural instincts and become I think Arteta him out, right? Literally overcoach him to a point where he just says, "Oh, this is all that I know to play." I think, and it's interesting to see. I think maybe when we get to that next game, I think we'll speak of it. How Enrique has grown out of it. It's so pleasing to see an Enrique team play with that dynamism and that chaos, right? Which is, for me, as somebody who's seen Enrique from the early 2010s to what he is metamorphed himself into, a free-flowing football coach where everybody does everything, and he's able to kind of do it without Mbappe. I think maybe that was the shackle that they needed to break.
Yep. But what a smash and grab by Liverpool. This is like the classic definition of a smash and grab. They were really bad, right? They were like, I've not seen Liverpool play this badly in a couple of years. Let's put it that way.
100%. Now, I think couple of years is an understatement. It's been a long time since I saw them.
Yeah, I think the last time was when they had like that injury-ridden season where you could expect that. But yeah, PSG were very unlucky to not come away with the result, and they're most likely going out. I don't see them winning at Anfield. Yeah.
And that's where I think if you go back and replay the game, right, and if you start to point out mistakes, PSG hardly put a foot wrong, right? As a coach, when you go back into that dressing room, what can you tell them? Like, other than the fact that maybe they could have been clinical, but I think in terms of how they kind of aimed for the goal, they were fairly spot on, right? They created 2.8. Like, again, if XG is a measure, 2.8 XG. They should have at least scored, like, I think everybody's admission, at least 3 goals. What
You
more
just
could they
got,
have done?
yeah, they just got footballed. It's like the enduring beauty of this game, right? You could do everything right and then just lose on a freak result. I mean, you have to, of course, shout out to Allison. He's proved time and again that he's one of the best ever in the business.
I should
Like,
have
I
maybe
think
worn my Allison jersey today. He's probably one of my most favorite footballers outside of Newcastle, because he's
yeah.
such an
You
icon.
have to recognize, talent when it shows itself. He's been probably the best goalkeeper in the Premier League for a long, long time. Maybe ever. Maybe ever. I have no hesitation saying this. No, I have no hesitation saying this.
Yeah.
This is Allison as an all-timer. He's like
He is an all-timer.
he has the. I mean, if somebody says he's the greatest ever Premier League goalkeeper, there are very few arguments against that, in my opinion, considering everything that he's done over the years for Liverpool.
Yeah, the only other 2 people that I can think of that will be talked of in the same breath is Petr Cech and Schmeichel, right?
Schmeichel, yeah.
Yeah, so those were the only 2 ones that I can think of that were as good. Courtois' time in Chelsea was too few or too little.
Right.
So you can't really use that as a gauge.
Yeah.
But he's young in goalkeeping terms. He's only 31, 32. Goalkeepers typically last until 38, 39.
38, yeah.
So he still has another 7 years. And that Liverpool have already been hasty in replacing him with Marmadashvili. So it then tells me that wherever he goes from here on,
PSG.
They have Donnarumma.
Yeah.
Right, who's again, it's
If you can't beat them, buy them.
No, I think I think most people that actually took the Mickey out of Donnarumma yesterday. It is so hard to keep your concentration for 90 minutes when you had nothing to do. Virtually, like, he could have just set up a tea stall and then started selling tea, right? Because he had absolutely nothing. The ball didn't even like nobody even penetrated their what do you call it? Their first third. And in that moment, you just have to be switched on. It's so difficult, right? And it's easier to kind of be Allison than Donnarumma yesterday.
Allison in this game. Usually Allison is also in the same kind of situation where, of course, he's more active in the sense that he has a good part to play in build-up, not as Donnarumma doesn't do that as much. But usually that's the case with even Allison. Like, the Liverpool defense is so good, he often doesn't have much to do. But when it comes to it, he's an incredible shot stopper as well. Yeah, like, you see players who are like, let's say someone like Onana at United, right? He's very good with his distribution is good, but his shot stopping is so terrible.
I'm not sure if it's a hot take. Maybe it's the Pep Guardiola effect, but the goalkeeper at the end of the day is there to stop the ball from getting into the net. It doesn't matter if you're good with the distribution. It doesn't matter if you can give assists to your striker.
It really depends. I mean, I know what you're saying, but I feel like the modern game is very different, especially.
Who is the best ball playing goalkeeper in the world right now, and which club he plays for?
Ederson, maybe. Or Ter Stegen, for sure. No, but I'll tell you what it does offer. No, I think what it does offer is you then start to play teams 11 against 10.
Yeah.
Right? Because the goalkeeper gets involved in build-up. So, like, for example, when Nick Pope plays, I know he can only do shot stopping. His distribution is probably as poor as a tier 2 or tier 3 goalkeeper, or even worse. Right? He can't do simple passes. He can't handle the ball. He can't kind of do short passes. His half turns, and then, like, in terms of being a part of build up from the back, he offers nothing. Right? That becomes difficult when you start playing against Liverpool, when you see Alisson and Pope line up. Shot stopping wise, they're not too far different. But Alisson it becomes the 11th player for them.
Yeah. And I think shot stopping is, you could, it's a very classical view of looking at a goalkeeper where you're like, oh, if he's not stopping shots, like, he must be a bad goalkeeper or whatever. But every goalkeeper lets in goals. Like, there's no goalkeeper who has like a perfect shot stopping
if
record.
you had Ter Stegen yesterday, we were coming back with a 0-3 scoreline, right? Like, absolutely, that is what was going to happen. Maybe I've only seen because Ter Stegen has been around forever. I've only seen goalkeepers who are only good at playing out from the back and not actually shot stopping. When you have both, like Allison,
Neuer is the archetype. Everybody is built around Neuer, right?
Yeah.
Even Allison reminds me of Neuer because
Yep. Yeah, I think I was going to say that if you say the top goalkeeper in the world of all time, Neuer has a shout to be in there. And
only after
he's the
Buffon.
reason
No,
why
but
Allison,
sure.
I wouldn't put Allison on that pedestal because
Yeah,
Neuer, he was the one who came up with this whole hybrid role, and everyone has copied that. And I think to various degrees of success.
revolutionary. Yeah.
yeah.
Again, like he wouldn't be so high on the list if he weren't also a world class shot stopper.
Yeah,
That is
of
a
course.
non-negotiable for me.
Yeah,
Just,
of
I
course.
don't. Yeah, it. The narrative I see is it's okay to not be the best shot stopper as long as you are playing out from the back.
Yeah,
I've just
I
had
think that's
too many
also part.
traumatic experiences where I just can't agree with that.
Yeah,
No, but increasingly, if you look at it, you can be a part of a good team, right? That wins a title, or be a part of a what do you call it? A team that qualifies for Champions League. But invariably, I think over a period of time in the next decade, you will find all championship winning teams that go on to win multiple titles have a goalkeeper that is amazing with his feet, because I think that's how you almost have an advantage, right? You don't need to kind of have two ball playing center backs that are seated right next to the goalkeeper but not able to advance. Right? It changes the dynamic of how you do build up play.
Yep. And I think it's also like that philosophy is, percolates down everywhere. Like I was just walking past field the other day in Toronto where kids were playing football, and you could see like the coach talking to the keeper, and the keeper, he must be 10 years old, and like they're like active part of the passing drills, and you're doing rondos and stuff. And I'm like, this is the way the world is going, because like you said, it just gives you an advantage. So like 10 years from now, you will not it'll definitely be a dying breed of keepers who are like the Nick Popes of the world are a dying breed. Let's put it that way.
100%. I think again a shout out to Chris's club. I again had the privilege of being in La Masia and watched them for a whole day, right? And they were playing rondos in the under 11s and the under 8s. In the under 11s, the best player in the rondos was just wearing a Barcelona shirt. Ended up starting in goal. I was just shocked beyond belief, saying this guy who could have easily played as their number 10 starts as a goalkeeper. I'm like, why? And this was 10 years ago. I didn't have the comprehension to think the world was moving that way. Right. But now when you look at it, it's like I think to Rohit's point, right? In terms of Pep being the person that maybe it's the Barcelona thing that he's carried and then perfected and then taken it up to the next level.
Fair enough. Again, I'll die on the hill that shot stopping is the cake and playing out from the back is the cherry on top. Well, with that said, do we have any more games? Bayern Munich and the Bayer.
Yeah,
Never losing. And they lost.
Yeah.
That time of asking.
I think last season was a moment for them. I feel like the days of, they're not going to be able to bottle that genie again by Leverkusen. Yeah, Munich was just good. Musiala is a great player. He just shows his worth in these games. It's just incredible, right? I will say that Bayern Munich, they are not like the force this season that they were like maybe 3 or 4 seasons ago also, but they're kind of going through a reset right now. So I think they might potentially, depending on who they meet in the quarterfinals, I think if they go ahead, I think they might be playing Inter, right? Or are they playing? Will they play the winner of Barca? Yeah. I think that will actually be a tough test for them. Inter, because their defense is really good. So Harry Kane, of course, he's still banging in goals, man. He has like 25 goals or something this season already. It's just like that guy's record never stops. But yeah, I feel like that this Bayern team has a ceiling. Sane is older. Gnabry isn't the same player he was a couple of seasons ago.
And there is also a lot of uncertainty around the team, similar to Liverpool and their core group, with all the contractual issues. Once they fix that in the summer, like whoever stays and goes, they'll be a lot more sorted out, and they know this is the core group that's gonna carry us for the next 5 years. They should be a lot more comfortable.
Yeah, they also need to like upgrade their defense. I think they sorted out Musiala's contract situation, which is great for them.
Did they?
There's,
No, Davis
I think Musiala also signed, right?
Yeah.
So I think they're who's that? I think Kimmich. That's the thing they need to figure out. I'd love to have him at Arsenal, but he was the player of the game for me yesterday. He was so good, man. So good.
And the thing with Kimmich, right, is almost like you look at the game, right, in real time. You know, he's here, there, everywhere. He's doing this little things.
He's the Roy Kent of the real world.
I think please.
Pausa. That's the thing he has.
It's called the pausa, is it? He just does all of these little things. And then in the game, you don't notice him. But at the end of the game, when you think who's the player that's influenced the game the most,
he sets the tempo. He knows when to accelerate, when to slow things down.
Xavi is my closest right? Of someone who just does it, gets and goes.
Busquets, Del Bosque.
Yeah. Also, like among the current players, he also reminds me a little bit of Jorginho. Right? Like just understands where to go, where the ball needs to be, where to give an outlet.
I'm sorry, I don't think Jorginho can lace Kimmich's boots.
That's where you're wrong. Like Jorginho is criminally underrated.
Yeah, who came third in the Ballon d'Or, right?
I mean, he's no scrub. He's no scrub, is what I'm saying. Like, which is why I think replacing him is a big deal for us.
But I'll tell you what, Bayern has always, all right, been so good with their recruitment. All right, they are what we all think City are in terms of being quick in getting their mistakes corrected, very sharp in making sure that when there is a talent around, invariably Bayern are sniffing. All right, no matter which league, where, what level, championship, Porto leagues, Portugal leagues, or somewhere in the Dutch league, they will sniff a player when they see talent, and they have a great way of embedding players from 20 to 25 and turning them into superstars.
Yeah, Alphonso Davies from what, US or Canada? How often have we seen? How many other players we know who have been successfully integrated? Maybe Chicharito.
Hey, shout out to Brian McBride, the Fulham legend that he was.
So I think one question I have is predictions for the next leg. Let's go through some of the tighter games. So PSG Liverpool. Eja, what do you think?
I thought you were going to be PSV Arsenal.
PSV Arsenal. I'll tell you what. It's going to be like a very boring, 2-1, 3-1 type of game. Arsenal are going to win it. So I'm not very if
he can afford to not care.
Listen, I can afford to not care. Like if PSV overturn this, everyone, there was this asteroid impact, Saliba, Gabriel, all perished. That's why it's happened.
Yeah, of course, go on. PSG, Liverpool, you said.
Yeah.
You guys want to go first?
Well,
I'll tell you, Liverpool are going to win 3-1.
Yeah, I think it's going to be closer than that because I think the way PSG played, if they kind of turn up the same way against an Anfield crowd. Yeah, Anfield. You think Anfield is going to go boisterous, but I think they'll give them a proper game. I think it's going to be closer than that. It could be just a draw that they come out with. So it could be a 1-1 or a 2-2, but still Liverpool go through.
Yeah, I will say one thing. If PSG get a goal in the first 30 minutes, it's going to be a really, really interesting game.
Correct.
What do you think, Chris? Predictions?
Well, I mean, I cannot let PSG progress to the next round of Champions League. Doesn't matter the opposition, right?
I didn't know you had the keys to it.
I have the heart to make it happen.
You just send out the vibes into the world.
I know. I would trade my own career, my own good grades, if it means PSG and Real Madrid not making it to the next round. I will do whatever.
Keep your career, keep your job, dude. Don't put Real Madrid in there. But yeah, so scoreline?
Liverpool 1-0.
Okay. Let's do Real versus Atleti.
I
think Chris.
I'm gonna say Real 3-0.
Wow.
It's a very bold prediction, but I've seen enough of these Madrid derbies to know how it will turn up.
What do you think, Eja?
I think Real will win it, but I don't think it's going to be a 3-0, right? Again, it's just one of these things that the team that scores the first will invariably have an advantage. And if Atleti scores first, they're going to put the, what do you call it, the biggest prison that you know of in front of the goal. There's not even an ad that is passing through it. So that's how tight they can become if they wish. So I think it could be one of these weird games where Atleti wins 1-2, and then it then goes into extra time and penalties.
Wow. I was thinking it's going to be like a 1-1 draw.
Okay. I'd like to change my prediction to Real wins by 3 goals. It could even be a crazy 5-2 scoreline.
Okay. But, yeah. Any other tight games? I think those were the 2 tight ones. I don't think. Come on, dude. Barcelona versus Benfica at home. What do you think? I think Barcelona are easily going to score like
5-4, 1-0. All we have had against them.
Okay, I'll predict it. I'll let you do this. I'm going to predict a 2-0 win for Barcelona.
Again, I don't think it's going to be as straightforward as that because Barcelona's defense is not the greatest. It's just one goal. The first goal, whomsoever scores there, it could really get on that the crowd's nerves.
Okay, I'm gonna say 4-0 to Barca. So we were talking about how to make the channel go big and whatnot. All of this is just
okay. So in that case, Eja, you got to give me a number now.
I want to say it is going to be a 2-1, very closely contested in Barcelona.
Yes, that guy, what he knows, man. Newcastle, Nick Pope is his goalkeeper. He probably hasn't even watched Barca play. This is the big league. This is the UCL.
Yeah, look at this engagement farmer.
We average 3.2 goals per game all season. We have like 130 goals.
So what? It doesn't mean anything. You're playing a tournament knockout game. None of the previous goals.
I don't know who taught you math, Eja, but our teacher, Ms. Fernandez, she has taught it means Barca will score 3 goals in any given game.
Yeah, I think the results went quite against this prediction, but I was telling earlier that the 4 funniest semi-finalists would be Aston Villa, Arsenal, Bayer Leverkusen, and Benfica. That's not happening, but it would have been very funny if that had happened.
Yeah, but I think on the fun side, we should also kind of talk about the Dortmund game. Dortmund being Dortmund, they went there. It was scrappy. It was hard fought. Lille kind of. I think it was one of those games that you just thought and said, "Oh, what am I even watching?" Right. And they had the lead. They could have easily capitalized. They missed it. And then this Amar guy comes and scores. It's not going to be easy.
Dortmund are also in a reset, right? They changed their coach, and they're 10th in the Bundesliga or something right now. So yeah,
10th? I think more like
they're like
14th or something.
Oh really? I didn't know
They're
they
like
were even
3 points ahead of Manchester United.
Yeah, and watch out for Lille. They're very, they're very left field in how they play. Yeah, so I think they could
Yeah,
be
I
a
mean
tricky game for
they
any
were
team
in
that
the
plays
top
in-
8, right? Lille, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct,
So
if I'm not wrong too. So
yeah.
I think they could be one of these teams that you don't want to go and play away.
Awesome.
Nice.
Whew, we have our predictions in. We'll come back to it next week. Next week, yeah.
Let's see which math wins. May the best math win.
May the best hot take win.
Good stuff.